Hey everybody, Damon D here, and it's an honor and a pleasure to welcome Phil Hay from Bradford in the UK. They have a new album out, Warped Vision. So this is Psychlona with Warped Vision, which is out on Magnetic Eye Records, out now. Check it out. How's everything going this evening, Phil?
Yeah, it's all good. It's Sunday evening here in the UK. It's a little bit cold. It's autumn, almost winter. So the weather's sort of creeping in. It's getting dark now at sort of 5 p.m., which is not so good.
So for those that don't know who Psychlona is and what kind of music you guys play, just give a little intro on the style of music you play.
Sort of dropped in with the sort of desert, psych, stoner, sort of scene. Which I guess is sort of fairly accurate. Yeah, we get compared with bands like Hawkwind. The new album's been compared with sort of Pink Floyd in places. We get compared with like Caius, Fu Manchu, etc. So,
As a band, what would you say are the musical influences?
speaking for myself, when I came from a punk rock sort of background, from being a kid, and it was all sort of Clash, Ramones, I suppose Dead Kennedys, this sort of thing. It's still my influences are still sort of rooted back there. I guess you see. I don't think you go out of your way to get influenced by anything. It's just whatever's in your sort of roots and in your blood. And to me, that's always there. I mean, obviously, I do love all the bands such as Caius, Fu Manchu, Hawkwind, Sabbath, etc. But I think I'm going back to the punk sort of days still with my influences. I'm not saying it's so much in the sound of Psychlona, but that's certainly my own personal influences. I know the other guys, Scott's got a real eclectic sort of taste in music. Sometimes, sometimes annoyingly so when you're traveling through somewhere in the middle of the night. Yeah. Martin and Isaac are both sort of more the heavy rock. Martin certainly sort of 70s, rock. He's also got a wide taste in music, but
Yeah, and then from a vocal, because you play guitar and sing at the same time. So is there a specific influence you have from a vocal perspective or guitar?
no, none whatsoever. No, it's just whatever. It's just how it comes out. It's quite limited.
From a songwriting process, the new album's out on which is Warped Vision, Magnetic Eye Records. It's out now, Cyclona. And so, from a songwriting perspective, do you bring lyrics or riffs, or does everyone get in the same room, or do people send files back and forth? Like, how do you guys come up with, how'd you write this new record?
Well, I had some sort of pretty major changes quite recently. Well, this time last year, two of the guys left the band. So Dave, the guitarist, and Martin, the bass player, both decided that they didn't want to tour anymore, so they were leaving the band. Um, so that the process on the first two albums was that we all sort of wrote ideas down. The third album, not so much. I sensed that interest was being lost a little bit with those guys, which was fair enough. Martin had got two young kids, and last year we toured Europe, and Martin had a 3-month-old son, so it was it's pretty tough on him having to do that. So yeah, so they were losing interest a little bit, so they left the band. So by the time the new guys, well, we got two new guys sort of pretty quickly. We had to move fast because we were looking at November last year when Martin and Dave left, and we had the studio booked for March for the new album. Um, so by the time Martin and Isaac actually came on board, I think I'd got 6 songs sort of fairly uh, finished by then. And then Martin and Isaac each wrote a song and wrote it down. But yeah, it's just it's a straightforward down to the rehearsal room, have a jam, see what sounds good. I've got this idea, let's try this out, blah blah blah. It's always the music's first, then I spend countless hours, days, weeks, months trying to work on lyrics, which I'm never happy with. So by the time it's actually the record's out, it's probably about version 25 of the lyrics in the song, or maybe changed completely. But yeah, that's the way it goes, and we're sort of happy with this album. It's really cool. A little bit rushed because of the way things worked out. Obviously we had to have the album finished, well, ready for recording in March, and then we had Desert Fest London in May to prepare for playing, which obviously a pretty big sort of show off the band, the new band with Martin and Isaac on board. And then we had a festival in Germany shortly after. And then we've just done a 2.5 week tour in Europe with Greenleaf and the Slamosa. So obviously we've got to have our chops together for that one, because it's you're not going to go out those two bands and be bad, be sloppy playing. It's got to be on par, So we had that to get ready for. So yeah, it's been a busy old year. Taking a little bit of chill out time now, but yeah.
Yeah. And then so you mentioned some challenges with writing lyrics. Are you the primary lyricist for the band, or do other band members write lyrics and then you sing it? Or do you just say, no, I'm doing lead vocal, I'm not going to take your, like, how does that work? Right. I know sometimes people who sing say, well, I want to write my own lyrics because I'm not comfortable with somebody else's, or how does that work?
Yeah, pretty much exactly what you've said. I mean, there's no sort of rule that I write the lyrics, but I do anyway, because I want to. If I'm singing stuff in front of a bunch of people, I want it to mean something. Most of my lyrics are sort of about things that have gone on in my life, in the past, in the future, hopefully, but it's got to mean something. I think if somebody gave me some lyrics and I was singing, it'd be a little sort of, I don't know, a little bit strange maybe. So yeah, I don't actually say, well, no, I'm doing them, but it just happens that way.
It just turns out that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're talking a little bit about the new record, Warped Vision, which is out now. How is this record different, aside from the new members? How is it different from the previous 3 releases, let's say?
I mean, each record's moved on a little bit. It's obviously we don't want to keep churning out the same sort of riffs and what have you. And I don't know, it just progressed like that. So it might be a little bit more psychedelic in places, but it still sort of retains the heavier sort of riffy side of things. I mean, I guess the next album might be the one that's got more changes, because we've got Martin and Isaac, who I keep referring to as the new guys still. They're going to bring their influences into the new record, whereas the first 3 were myself, Scott, Martin, and Dave. It's now myself, Scott, Martin, and Isaac. Different Martin.
Yeah. So different players bring different influences and different writing styles.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Martin for sure has got a lot of ideas, and he's got some great influences going back to sort of late 60s, early 70s, sort of hard rock and what have you. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I mean, it will be have the Psychlona sound, but it might be. I think the next one will be the one that deviates most from the previous releases.
Yeah, and then how does it, so incorporating 2 new band members in a short amount of time, with going into a studio, playing at Desert Fest, going on tour, how did that, because not everybody's up for those types of challenges. Obviously these guys are, but how did that kind of bring the band together?
Dave initially told me he was thinking of leaving the band, and then Martin's sort of fairly quickly said they were thinking of leaving. They both took quite a while to actually decide, around about 2 months. So myself and Scott continued going down to the jam room each week and working on new stuff. So I knew Martin in particular pretty well for a number of years. It's pretty sort of prolific on the local sort of band scene. He actually plays in 2 more bands as well, which is
Wow.
a little bit difficult sometimes, but we're getting around it. And I also knew Isaac, so I sort of tipped them both off. We might be looking for new members. When I say both, I tipped Martin off. We might need a new guitarist, and I told him what we got lined up. We'd obviously got the tour lined up for October already, and I knew we'd got Desert Fest and Stomping on the Ground plus the album, so it was fully aware of the sort of challenge that was ahead. He initially said, "Oh no, he couldn't do it," Then he, I think the next day, he messaged back, said, "No, I want to do this." And then I said to him, "Actually, well, Martin's leaving as well, so we're gonna need a bass player." So then we got in touch with Isaac, and the same sort of sketch again. We've got this lined up, that lined up. We've got recording tours, and he was like, "Yeah, where do I sign?" sort of thing. So yeah, it's been great. We had a real good time on the tour, real good laugh. Sort of bonded, 4 guys in a van doing 4,500 miles. It was good fun.
That's ideally what you would want because it's definitely a challenge in because the energy and the creativity and all those kind of personal dynamics come in. Some people don't realize, you know, four people all in a tight space every day together. If they're not on the same page, it can sometimes be a challenge. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it'd be difficult if somebody wasn't fitting in or had different ideas. But we just jumped in the van every day. Where we're going, what day is it? Right, we've
yeah,
got 6 hours drive today, and every night was party night, really.
yeah, that's pretty cool. And so, yeah, you mentioned touring with Greenleaf. What was the experience like with that? Maybe a band that's got a pretty big following in the UK, as I understand. What was the experience being out with those guys?
Well, it was really cool. We knew the guys anyway. Myself and Tommy, the guitarist from Greenleaf, have been friends for some time now anyway. So it was, and we'd actually talked last year at Desert Fest in Berlin. Let's do a Greenleaf Psychlona tour, and we were all like, yeah, let's make this happen. So the initial tour was Greenleaf Psychlona, and then Slamosa were added to the bill. It was a good thing to do because Slamosa are just going absolutely global at the moment. The profile is just raising on a daily basis. They've just done a USA tour with the Alkaline Trio. Then they joined us the next day when they got back in Berlin. So yeah, it was just a great tour. We knew Slamosa anyway from the last couple of years. From playing some of the festival. Everyone, it sounds sort of really corny, but everyone was just absolutely like family. Certainly by the end of the tour, we were all sort of like family. And the last night of the tour it was like, we're going, guys, and I think it took us about 2 hours to say our goodbyes, and it was good. I mean, old friends. I mean, both those bands are sort of higher profile than we are, certainly for the time being. So yeah, it was nice to play with them.
Yeah, that's good. And that kind of rolls into my next question, which is in general, what's the kind of rock scene or heavy rock scene in Bradford where you are, or in the UK in general? It sounds like it's can be very collaborative and the bands are not necessarily in competition with each other, but just give everybody watching a sense of what that's like.
Yeah, I mean, there are some great bands in the UK. I mean, Elephant Tree, for example, have just released a split album with Lowrider. Sergeant Thunderhoof, Orange Goblin, Uncle Acid, of course. Then you've got bands a little bit low down the food chain like Red Spectre. Local bands. I've got a message. I've got to mention local bands with Iron Rat, Wolves in Winter, Son of Boar. The UK scene's all right, but for me and certainly for the band, we prefer playing out in Europe. It's the crowds are sort of more reactive, and it's just everything's sort of better. The hospitality at the venue is better. And it's I mean, UK is great, but they're a little bit they need to learn some lessons from particularly the Germans. I think the
Hmm.
German promoters and fans are off the scale. I mean, we played across in Los Angeles. We played at the Roxy a couple of years ago,
Oh,
which was pretty cool. It's the USA is similar to the UK for shows, in the fans are great and everything, but certainly at our level, the promoters don't look after the bands as well as the Europeans do. It's normally, go find your own hotels and go feed yourselves elsewhere and what have you. But having said that, I love touring the USA as well. We've done that twice, West Coast USA, and that's been awesome as well. So
yeah, it's such a big country too. I don't think some people appreciate how big United
oh
States is
yeah,
until you get over here. You're like, oh, I could just because in Europe, you could take a train and you could go to France and Germany and in 3 hours you're in Netherlands or whatever. But here you got to fly all the way across the country, so or drive 3, 4 days. It's definitely a
oh yeah,
huge undertaking for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, we did a West Coast tour a couple of years ago, and it was that we're looking at great. What we got? We've got Auckland, LA, Costa Mesa, then we're Phoenix. Why have we got Phoenix in there? I was like, no, Costa Mesa across to Phoenix, and I think the next day we're from Phoenix we're down to San Diego. So we've got this nice West Coast, tour all in a bit of a line. Then suddenly we've got to travel across the East for
Yeah.
quite a long way. But yeah, it's a big place. But I love the driving about in the USA. It's such an interesting place. I love being in a van anyway. I'd much prefer traveling in a van than by plane because you just see more of the countries. You see the changes in the scenery, going on, and it's so much more interesting.
So now what I'm going to do is play a song from the new record from Psychlona, Warped Vision, which is out now on Magnetic Eye Records. We're going to play track 2, Let's Go. And then once we're done, we're going to come back in and talk about that track. Okay, everybody, so that was track 2 from Psychlona's Warped Vision. The track is called Let's Go. I'm here with Phil Hay, who is playing guitar and does most of the lead vocals. So, Phil, let's talk about this track 2, Let's Go. I mean, I think it's probably, to me, one of the tracks that could be the single if we're still, talking in those kind of terms. So tell everybody a little bit about this track, Let's Go.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was actually the first single released from the album. So the way a lot of the record labels work nowadays is that they wanted to release 3 video singles in the build up to the full album release. So we released Let's Go as the first one. The second one was Jasmine, and then the final one before the album was released fully was Magic Carpet. It's just a happy sort of tune, really. It's basically about just going out, having a good time with the guys. And it doesn't get much more complicated than that. It's straightforward. Out for some beers, the guys having a good time, park at the motorbike in the parking lot and get inside, and the music's playing loud, and we're all having a good time and drinking loads of beers. That's all that one is. It's the most light-hearted song on the album, to be honest. And it's one that we played about with for quite a long time. I'd written that one while Dave and Martin were still in the band, so we've been playing around, with the basic tune, and then we just sort of polished it up a little bit when Martin and Isaac joined and recorded it. And yeah, we had a lot of fun playing it. It goes down well when we play it live. We enjoy playing it, and we had fun making the video. So yeah, let's go.
And then now what we're going to do is we're going to play what you just mentioned, Magic Carpet, which is a track I really like, and it's the closing track on the album. So we're going to play track 8, which is Magic Carpet. Okay, everybody, that was track 8 from Psychlona's Warped Vision, which that was track 8, which is Magic Carpet. So Phil, let's talk about this song, Magic Carpet, and why was this the closer? And how did you, because the song sounds a little different from some of the other tracks on the album. Explain a little bit about this track.
Well, yeah, that was the 7th track that was written from the album. It was actually Martin, the new guitarist, came in one day and he began playing it, and it's got a sort of a jazzy feel to, the clean guitar parts. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, let's work on that, which we did. And then early this year, I was on holiday in Spain. I was on vacation, and the guys had been down the rehearsal room and they'd recorded the instrumental version of the song, and they sent it to me, and I was literally sort of sat by the pool with a cold beer and a book, and I thought, yeah, I really got the vibe for it. And I came up with the sort of lyrics pretty much on the spot. Typed them out on my cell phone, and kept them. Couldn't wait to get back to play, really. I'm not sure if you've seen the video, but because it was sort of a jazzy sort of feel to it, it reminded me of these old sort of loungy sort of acts,
Yeah.
in the smoky bar. So we got in touch with a local bar in our home city and said, which was perfect for doing it. It was a really old-fashioned looking place, and can we use the bar to do the video? And said, yeah. And they let us use the bar, but they opened up early before the customers were allowed in, and I think we spent half a day doing the video in there. We all sort of wore the tuxedos and sunglasses sort of thing, and it was, yeah, it's come out as we wanted it to do, really. And it was ideal to be the last track, because it's sort of chilled out, and it's got a sort of a faster, sort of riffy outro to it, where we all sort of heads down, straightforward, thrashing the guitars for the last sort of 2 minutes. End of album, perfect.
Yeah. And then you just mentioned some of the music videos for the singles from this release. How does the kind of structure or content of what the music video is going to be come about? Is it you guys saying we have an idea for a video, or the record company has a director that says we're going to do this? How does that kind of work?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much us. We sort of have ideas. So, for example, on the Let's Go video, it was just getting into a studio, and it was just a live performance. So we just played along to the song 2 or 3 times, and that was actually a really cheap video to do it. We hired one of our friends to come along with his video camera, and we just played the song through a few times. Scott, our drummer, put it all together. He did all the edits and what have you, and it cost us like £50 to do the whole video.
Wow. That's do it yourself. That's DIY to the extreme. That's awesome.
That is definitely DIY. On the second video we did, which was for the single Jasmine, we just took a lot of GoPro footage when we were driving across Europe to play the first festival with the new guys, and we pieced it all together. So we've got sort of cameo appearances by Lowrider, Greenleaf, High Desert Queen. A lot of people at the festival are in there. And the Magic Carpet video was the big budget one, if you like. We hired a hooker, a genuine film, sort of guy to do the recording. Everything else was cheap, but the venue lets you use it for free. The tuxedos all came from like the thrift stores, so they were all sort of second hand, and that was a long day, because we did part of it, all the sort of jazzy stuff in the tuxes and the bars. Then we went to this guy's studio and did all the the sort of heavy stuff in there. So we changed from tuxedos and the sort of back in the jeans and t-shirts, and just like rocked out for a few times while he applied different lighting effects and different filters. But yeah, we were sort of happy with the way it came out.
Yeah, and coming from a punk rock background, I'm sure you appreciate that kind of do it yourself. You just make it
Oh yeah,
happen, and you just,
yeah,
I grew up in the desert in Coachella Valley, and it was like that, where we would get an amp, drive out to the desert, throw a carpet for the drums, somebody gets a light, and you just make it happen. I think that's one of the
uh,
cool things about, music, is especially when you're maybe not these huge, super famous bands, is you just, like you said, get the GoPro, your friends approve it, the drummer's going to edit, and you put out a thing that's really, really cool.
yeah. But I love all that sort of punk rock ethos with the early bands such as Caius and Across the River, etc. And you know, I've seen the sort of low edit sound films, and a couple of years ago when we were, I think I mentioned that we played in Costa Mesa, and then we were over
Yeah.
to Phoenix. So we stayed over in Palm Springs, and we did the sort of Sky Valley stuff, and you know,
Okay.
Pappy and Harriet's and all this sort of thing. I had a real good
Yeah.
time. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was sort of, yeah, I can really appreciate like. I mean, it's the same as we did over here with the punk rock scene, but rather
Yeah.
than, you know, instead of doing it in the desert with a generator, you know, we sort of like, you know, coax people and let us play in their sort of bars and clubs, even though we were sort of like, you know, 15, 16 years old and
Yeah.
not actually allowed to be in there. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it all. It's just, it's exactly the same thing, just
Yeah.
different background, you
It's
know.
pretty funny you say that because when I was in bands in high school and all that, there wasn't a place to play, and you're not you're not legal. You can't. So it was like, okay, well, let's get a thing and play in the desert, or let's go in a backyard, or and kids would skate maybe in an empty pool. So there'd be skating, and then you have a band in someone's backyard. It was just whatever you could do to play because that's how much you really liked music. And I think some of that kind of do-it-yourself creates a community that may not exist if everyone was just like this super famous, you know, you know, rock band or whatever. So that's really
Yeah,
cool.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think it happens everywhere. I mean, I'll put them in, obviously, there's the famous sort of Gilman Street, you know, venue
Oh
is,
yeah.
but, you know, is it Oakland or San Francisco? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
the same sort of thing, you know, but different background, you know, that was kids playing in a I don't know if it was a squat place they took over, and, you know, the same as you guys did in Coachella or
Yeah.
a Low Deserts might be in the same as we were doing over here. I mean, we played squat gigs back in the day, you know, with the punk bands. And we played a show at the Hell's Angels club one
Uh,
time, which was quite eventful,
yeah.
shall we say? Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah. I think the thing in the Coachella Valley was when we would play, it's always about trying to stay one step ahead of the cops because they
yes,
come and shut you down because it's too loud or you're not supposed to be there or it's not your land or, so there was always that
yeah,
kind of danger.
oh,
But, I think it definitely, builds a sense of community for sure.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's the same. And I was a fan of, you know, a lot of the band like NWA, etc. And, you know, I've seen like Straight Outta Compton. It's the same thing. And those
yeah.
guys were getting shut down big time by the police. And
Yeah.
that's a great film.
Yeah, I noticed earlier you mentioned High Desert Queen, who I actually interviewed a few months ago. They've got some really great tunes, and they had a new record recently. So, did you play with them at Desert Fest this year, or do you just know them?
3 years ago, 4 years ago, we played at Psycho Las Vegas Festival in Vegas. We'd signed with Psycho Las Vegas guys, started a new record label called Psycho Wax. And anyway, they asked us to sign with their label, and they said, we'll fly you across to Vegas, you know, we'll pay for the flights, we'll pay for your hotel, you'll get to play Psycho Las Vegas Festival. While you're here, we want you to record a live album. So we're like, where do we sign?
Yeah,
Um,
that's
so we
amazing.
played, so we played the festival, and I saw this guy down at the front as we were playing. Looked a little bit like me.
Yeah,
Anyway, so he had a Ripple Music T-shirt on, and we'd been signed with Ripple Music before that, you know. So anyway, after the show, he came to find me and he was talking to me. And he was laughing. He said, it was Ryan from Hide as a Queen, who I didn't know at the time. He was laughing. So you know, said there's been a few guys have come to me after you'd played and said, oh, hey, great show, man. And Ryan said, oh, thanks, man, soaking up the applause. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So I think it was about a year afterwards, they were doing a European tour. So I sorted them out a show in my home city, which was the first ever non-USA show, which I sorted out for them. So, and then the following week, we went to Edinburgh in Scotland to play a festival, and they played it as well. So we decided they were playing the Saturday, so we decided we'd go up on the Saturday, watch Hyde at Queen, and then they were going to stay over on the Sunday and watch us as well. So they played their set on the Saturday, and it was the same sketch as Vegas, but roles reversed. So people were coming to me afterwards and saying, hey, great show, man. I'm saying, yeah, man, we're the best Texan accent. Yeah, man, thanks. We enjoyed playing. And so myself and Ryan, we've been sort of pretty good friends ever since that first meeting. And he's been over to my house in the UK, and we keep in touch. He's a good guy. Great band, a great bunch of people. I mean, Rusty Morgan and Phil are great. We, again, like extended family. We spent some time with them in Germany in the summer. Great people, great band.
Yeah, that's great. So we're just about here to wrap it up here. So I'm here with Phil Hay of Psychlona, and the new album is Warped Vision, and which is out now on Magnetic Eye Records. So the last thing here, Phil, are there any social media call outs as far as Facebook or Instagram, or where can people get the release if they want to buy it? Bandcamp, things like that?
Well, yeah, I mean it's available everywhere. Magnetic I've got worldwide distribution, so you can go into a record store pretty much anywhere in the world, and if they haven't got it, they'll get it for you. Online, you can buy it from Bandcamp, as you say, our Bandcamp page, Magnetic Eye's Bandcamp page. Or you can go on Plastic Head in the UK and buy it. It's everywhere. I don't think it's hard to track down. I mean, it's on Amazon and
Yeah,
everyone's got hold of it. So yeah, it's there. You don't have to look
cool.
too hard.
Okay, this has been Phil Hay of Psychlona. Their new album is Warped Vision. It's out on Magnetic Eye Records. I want to really thank Phil for joining me this afternoon, morning for me. Thanks a lot for doing this, Phil. And this has been Damon D. One World, One Rock.